Hello viewers, Super GT here. This week's Daily Race A is back in the fearsome go-kart. There it is. Without a doubt, the go-kart has to be one of the most dangerous vehicles in the game. I was actually lucky enough to drive one of these karts in Atlanta a couple of months ago, and it is hard work. And on this game, it is also hard work because it's just always a mess. Let's jump into race number 1. Here it is then, race number 1. We're going to be starting 11th on the grid, just behind Senna, who has a nightmare start. Away from the line we go, gaining 1 position. So this race, it is 8 laps around Tsukuba, probably quite a well-suited track to the shifter kart, I would say, because it's not the biggest track, so shifter karts probably go around here quite well. Now the kart, as I mentioned earlier, is it's a tricky little machine. It does produce some fairly chaotic races, so we're going to take a trip across the grass here, get some overtakes done, get a bump from behind, just behind this guy dressed as a skeleton, which is actually fairly suitable for this race, I would say. But yeah, this car is incredibly twitchy, very, very easy to sort of overdrive it and to send yourself into the shadow realm at any opportunity. So it's very easy to do that, just like this, where I turned left on a straight and went straight into the wall, much to my own dismay. A little bit later on, this Polish driver having an accident and managed to get 2 overtakes done. Just trying to recover some positions here at the end of the race, as it looked like Michael Schumacher turning across me there, back with the skeleton, punting him in the rear end and gracefully taking that position. At the end of the race, it was only good enough for P8. Not good enough, really, is it? Yeah, that was a disaster. Let's jump into race number 2. Here we go then. Can we do any better here? Starting this time 10th on the grid. Someone going a little bit early there. The lights go out and the race begins. Let's see if we can do a little bit better this time around, as we fell victim to our own lack of talent in the previous race. Can we do a bit better here and try not to crash? I mean, if you can just not crash in this race, then that is half of the success, unlike that guy there who has dropped it on the exit of turn number 1. So this is the end of lap number 3. You see there Patmandu having a bit of a mare on the grass, but keeping it together, then just drifting a little bit wide. You've got to watch out when you go on the grass. Your tyres go very cold, very dirty, and you don't have much grip after that. Looking up the inside here into the hairpin, not quite going to happen until he drives a bit wide, and then it does happen. And that's me now up into P5, bit of a wobble on the exit, where we gather it up and continue on our way. Looking forward here, trying to catch up. Well, actually, I did look back there for a second, so I'm completely lying to you, as we are trying to catch up with this nice little battle for P3. And by the end of lap number 5, I'm in that battle. So can I go about getting a podium position, possibly? Frenchman and the Brit doing battle here through the first hairpin, side by side into the middle hairpin. We have to go quite late on the brakes, make the most of the banking here on this corner. The banking feels a lot more pronounced when you're in such a small vehicle such as this. The Brit gets back ahead and back down to 5th. It's a civil war engaging as we head towards the final hairpin on the lap. Up the inside we go. Nice tidy move. And we can move fully now into the slipstream. No, we can't. That was a nice little switcheroo by the Brit. He wasn't having any of it. By the final lap, the Portuguese driver, who was battling for the lead, has a bit of a mare in the Kimi Raikkonen suit of all suits. And we've got this almighty battle now for second place between 5 karts as they're running each other narrow, trying to defend the position. I'm going to go with the long way round. Is it going to work? It looks like it might. As we head into the right-hander side by side, and my fellow Brit is going to have a nice little trip into the grass, and I'm going to kind of forget to steer here. Look at this. Fishtailing violently left to right and back to the left. And now I've lost my chance of really getting a podium. It's going to be a defensive race up against the Polish driver behind, maybe hoping that the guys in 2nd and 3rd could wipe each other out but unfortunately for me that does not happen. So as we round out the final corner of this race, it's going to be a bit more successful. It's going to be a P4. Fourth place. That is so tense. Like, you're on the edge the whole time in this race. But I think my pace is good. I could win a race, but I just need to be starting a bit further up. And so I jumped into some qualifying, setting the first lap here, 59.3. And it's always a very strange experience doing some time trial in the go-kart, because when you race against the Ghost, there is no driver. So it really is a bit of a ghost kart that we are racing against here. So this lap was really about being brave on the brakes. You can really smash the brake pedal quite late, but the kart does become very unstable when you do that. So you have to be very sure of your movements and your kart control, but then also keep up the momentum during these slower corners like this. Getting on the power nice and early, big bump on the exit. And the bumps that are perhaps not so severe in a car, you really do feel them in this kart with basically zero suspension. You've got to be very careful. Now I'm 7/10 up here into the final corner. It's all about carrying speed through, which we are doing. And it's going to be a 58.6, which is a pretty good lap for 2 laps. But my distinct lack of talent came back to haunt me here, as we couldn't really seem to gather up a lap and put one together, as pretty much every other lap beyond that was, well, just me turning into the wall. But with that done, and my facial expression very much disappointment, we continue into race number 3, and I was starting in P3. So this time, you know, starting towards the front of the pack, it should be a lot easier from here, not having to fight through all the way through from the back. And when you're fighting from the back, there's just so many chances of you crashing like that. As we're going to capitalise, move up into second. It was really a case of then just trying to keep up with the Finnish driver in the lead, which I couldn't do, because here I took another trip across the grass and turned left into the wall for yet another dismal failure. And I'm sure you're very annoyed by now about my distinct lack of ability to actually just finish a race. Now it's become very clear to me that there's one reason I'm not succeeding here. That is my livery. And so with this Mario Kart livery, I should be unbeatable. Keyword should. Let's see what happens though. 5th on the grid here. Mid-pack. Away we go. Will the Mario Kart livery save me? I mean, it should do, theoretically. I mean, I don't know what I'm basing this theory on, but I'm just kind of hoping it will, for some weird reason. Let's see if we can have a slightly better race here, and at least finish on the podium. Podium would be nice. We finished 4th in one of the races so far, but you know, to taste the champagne up on the podium is always what every racing driver aspires to do. And so that's what we're trying to do here as we head into the hairpin. Bit of contact there with Will. He gets nerfed wide. We're going to capitalise and move up into 3rd. So as it stands, the champagne is going to be sprayed as we head into the first corner of the 7th lap. This came down to a fairly titanic duel with some Scandinavian drivers here. Can we come out on top and do Britain proud? Well, not quite, because there was this very awkward moment with a couple of bits of contact with a Swedish driver, and that just opened up the gaps. And not at a good time, with only a lap and a half to go. This was with half a lap to go, lap number 8 of 8 now. And this wasn't looking too promising, as I had to go around the outside here of the Finnish driver. And you know, you got to say that on the final lap especially, putting yourself on the outside in one of these go-kart races, you are just asking to be visiting Barrier or the Shadow Realm. Take your pick, either one you'll probably be visiting. But here we have one final chance in the slipstream. The slipstream is very strong in these races, and he covers the inside. There's not really much I could do, I mean, other than punt him off, but that is typically frowned upon, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to cross the line, but it is finally a podium, so I suppose that is an improvement to some extent. Race number 4 didn't really go to plan, as you can see, back to my usual self, and so I had only one solution. There is only one man who can save the day. Mr. America, Mr. Scotch Egg. Here he is. Got Ali G in the house in P12 on the grid. Look at that, incredible. There's also a bit of dirty air there in 9th. This could be an extremely interesting race. Okay, here we go then. Mr. America. There he is, with an eagle adorning the race suit. Can he bring back a victory to the United States? Let's see if we can do it. As we begin from the back of the pack, Scott Speed does not need to qualify. As this guy turns left on a right-hander, and then this guy turns left on a straight. Incredible scenes here. And it's like some magnetic force field that Scott Speed has, where people just do not want to get in the way. They just rather would turn off the circuit and move aside for the king. But anyway, we are actually up behind what looks like Mario here, as we've got some interesting liveries as ever on show in the go-kart race. As we onto the back straight for the first time, up into 8th position, so it's not too bad so far. We've got a very slow kart here, Ben Rod, with a distinct lack of momentum here. As we're going to look up the inside of Mario, not quite going to happen. Is he going to get a poor line on the way out? We're sliding through this final corner pretty nicely. And here, I think he forgets to shift or something. Mario, with the dismal gear shift, we're up the inside, and we force the issue up into 5th place. So this is a fairly decent ascent here from Scott Speed up into 5th on only lap number 2 into the back of this dude. We're going to lose a position as a result, and that was completely my fault. Scott Speed there just getting a bit over ambitious with the overtakes and going into the back of this poor soul. Looking up the inside into the hairpin, keeping it nice and tight towards the apex. We're not going to gain the position for now. We're going to have to be somewhat patient. The race very much settling down by this point. In the slipstream, up the inside we go. Is it quite going to happen? This guy isn't quite sure of his defence, but he's done enough to keep me behind for the time being. As we round out lap number 2, 6 to go. Looking up the inside into turn 1, late on the brakes. It's going to happen. Up the curb. Is it going to be an old switcheroo? It looks like it possibly will be, but it's not. I'm into 5th. And we're going to skip to the end of lap number 4 here, as we go for a very tidy overtake here. I mean, that's just about as textbook as it gets. We can tuck into the slipstream now of P3. And I think they'll be teaching that move in the textbooks for many years to come, as that was about as clean and as good as it gets. So lap number 6, catching up with this guy for the podium, and trying to go left then right, then back to the left on the outside. Not always the best place to be, but he's given me space, and I must say respect to that guy, as he could have easily have just turned left on a right-hander and introduced me to the wall, but he didn't. So he has some morality, does this guy behind TX Speed Stars. Absolute hero. Crossing the line then, 2 to go. Crossing the line then, 1 to go. With the fastest lap of the race, we are gaining on the top 2. We are the fastest man on the circuit. Is it enough though? Well, I was kind of hoping that they would wipe each other out here into the final corner, as that would be my only chance of winning the race. And unfortunately for me, they were actually too clean. And this is something I've experienced quite a lot. The respect is sometimes a bit better, I would say, in the US servers. I say US, let's say the Americas servers. And that could be quite a debatable subject, but it's proven to be true so far. We're going to go off here with race number 2 on the Scott Speed account. Scotch Egg is trying to go 1 better, trying to go 2 better. We're going to try and secure the W here, get that win at long last. Something that Super GT was not able to do. But Scotch Egg is a whole different proposition altogether. So starting 9th, I've got a couple of karts off here on the left. Rejoining it really is a bit of a mess here. And it's an amazing scene that no one is crashing. as we've all kind of kept it on the track somehow. Into the hairpin, late on the brakes. Up the inside we go. It's a tidy move up behind Ben Rod, who's got a poor exit in the slipstream. We're going to pull out to the right hand side. That is going to be 5th place at the end of lap number 1. That's a very solid return on my investment, as we still have 7 laps to go with only 4 positions to gain. I say only, but for Scott Speed it is only 4, as we head into turn number 1. Late on the brakes, really trail braking and carrying that brake into the apex. I didn't really hit the apex, but you get the idea. Carrying the brake into the corner to really maximise the speed throughout the turn. Doing the same here, a little bit wide. Back on the power nicely in 3rd gear. And I can say from real life experience, it is very difficult driving these things, very physical indeed, driving one-handed a lot of the time, and with front disc brakes as well. The capability, the stopping power is absolutely unreal, and we haven't really utilised it properly there. Going a bit on the grass, not gaining a position though. Up behind Nismo Man 88 and Rodster. And we go about getting back onto the podium for now before launching a full-scale assault on the lead of the race. Oh my goodness, he's wide, Rodster. And we're going to try and gain 2 positions in 2 corners here. Look up the inside, he's looking over his shoulder, darting towards the apex. There we go, side by side, bit of contact. I was going to give him the space, but he backed out, perhaps thinking that I was going to run him wide, but I didn't. And that's me up into 3rd position now, with our attention now turned firmly onto 2nd and 1st. The leader 1.4 seconds in front. TX Speedstars there in 2nd, 7/10 in front. So we are faintly into the range of slipstream, which is a good time to get it, as we are now heading onto the back straight, the longest straight on the circuit. He's going to try and move over, try to break the toe, try to keep the toe from the car in front. But we are certainly going to gain here. Go slightly defensive, a bit unnecessary, because I'm not going to launch an attack from this far back. We're carrying a good deal more speed through the turn and using a better gear as well. Fastest lap of the race, 58.7. We are very much on a roll here. Up behind Sia, who is, well, it's incorrectly named because he's not seeing me later. In fact, I might see him later after this overtake into this corner. Bit of a bump. Well, was it a bump? I don't even know. He just kind of turned right on the apex. And boom. Now it's my turn to say see you later, as we head through towards the hairpin. It's only lap 4. But look at this. He says see ya. And perhaps this is what he meant, because he's just going to take a nice little excursion across the grass. And that's now a safe 2-second gap, or 1.6. with no slipstream being handed to the karts behind. So on the final lap, 8 of 8, Scott Speed finally does it. Brings home the victory that we have been long waiting for. Get in there, Lewis. Scotch Egg never disappoints. Look at him go. Absolute legend that he is. But thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Catch you next time. Goodbye.